What confessions do you need to get off your chest? 7 years ago, my life changed forever. When I first won the lottery, I felt like I was dreaming. The numbers matched, and suddenly I was receiving nearly $800,000 each year from the annuity and investments. My first instinct was to share the wonderful news. I thought everyone would celebrate this incredible stroke of luck with me. And they did, for about a minute. Then the phone calls started coming. 10 calls a day, sometimes more. Friends, family, and soon, complete strangers, all asking for money. The requests ranged from shocking to heartbreaking. My coworker's sister claimed she needed rent money. A friend wanted $20,000 for an engagement ring, for a girlfriend who wasn't even faithful to him. Some people I trusted took advantage of my generosity. They'd ask for money for one thing, then spend it on something entirely different. Others would take what I gave them and pass it along to someone else. The betrayals cut deep. Even my therapist crossed a line, asking for cash tips after our sessions. I found myself spending more on others than on myself. Now I face a bitter irony. I have more money than I could ever need, yet I can't give it away. Every act of generosity seems to bring nothing but problems. People don't want simple help. They want me to finance their dream lives, completely on their terms. What hurts most is the realization. These people couldn't accept one gift without trying to get more. Looking back, I understand now, they never really respected me at all. Story 2. I own an exotic car rental company, and I hate how fake all of my clients are. I run an exotic rental business in one of America's largest luxury markets. My inventory isn't just cars, it's a full fantasy catalog, luxury boats, high-end houses, and designer watches. The business brings in solid money, around $40,000 to $50,000 in profit every month. At first glance, it seems perfect. I get to own beautiful things, and the business pays for them. But there's a darker side to this success. I've started to resent many of my clients. You know that rapper you saw on Instagram posing with a G-Wagon? He rents it from me for $899 a day. That same rapper's music video on a luxurious yacht? My boat, $3,000 daily. The mansion he claims to live in? My rental property, $1,000 per night. Even that iced-out Patek Philippe watch on his wrist costs $1,500 a day to rent. Remember that finance guru on TikTok flashing a 911 Porsche and a gold Rolex? Both come from my inventory. $2,500 a week to maintain that wealthy image. I understand the game. Money attracts money. These people rent luxury items to boost their business image. But knowing the truth behind their carefully crafted posts has left me feeling hollow. This wasn't my original vision. I wanted to serve genuine car enthusiasts, the man celebrating his 50th birthday with a dream drive in a Lamborghini, or someone wanting an elegant Porsche for their wedding day. But that's not where the real money flows. The highest profits come from people desperate to show off, which is why I expanded into yachts, houses, and watches. One story sticks with me. A client rented our Ferrari 488 and posted photos surrounded by $1,000 in single bills. Later, we found his ATM receipt in the car. After withdrawing that $1,000, his account balance was just $40. That discovery hit me hard. No amount of social media posturing can fill an emotional void. It's become clear to me, the online world of luxury and success is largely an illusion. But what truly troubles me is watching this fakery seep into the real world, one rental at a time. Story 3. My sister and I have this wonderful arrangement. Sometimes she hosts all our kids for a cousin's sleepover, giving my wife and me a date night. We return the favor when it's her turn. Last night was our night. My wife and I enjoyed a lovely dinner out, knowing we had plans for some intimate romance when we got home. Back at the house, while my wife was changing clothes, inspiration struck. I snuck into my daughter's room and borrowed her special projector, the one that displays stars and galaxies across the ceiling. When my wife caught me with the projector, she gave me a puzzled look. "What are you doing?" I grinned and announced, "I want to have sex in space." She burst out laughing and called me stupid, but in that affectionate way that told me she was charmed. I set up the projector in our bedroom, and we actually had our intimate moment under a ceiling of stars. It turned out pretty amazing. My wife called me a dork afterward, which gave me the perfect comeback. Well, you just had sex with a dork in space. Story 4. I've been dating a mutual friend for about 2 months now. 8 dates in, we're officially together. And I need to tell someone about this wild situation I'm in. She's absolutely stunning, and she's the funniest person I've ever met. But here's the thing. She's completely unpredictable. She actually warned me about this on our first date, but I was too captivated to listen. Now every red flag just looks like a beautiful crimson banner leading me deeper into this maze. The intensity of her personality shows up everywhere. She'll twist arguments until I question my own memories. She orchestrates everything from dinner choices to social plans with surgical precision. Her temper flares instantly. One wrong word and I'm getting death glares all day long. She never speaks her feelings out loud. Instead, she shows affection through surprise gifts, tender touches, and thoughtful gestures. But try to get her to say how she feels. She'd rather disappear. When she's truly angry, she goes completely silent. Try to resolve things too quickly, and she'll tell you to take a long walk off a short pier. Then there's the intimacy. It's like something from a movie, passionate, intense, perfect every single time. Whether gentle or wild, she's completely present and uninhibited. Suggesting any kind of abstinence would feel like denying myself oxygen. So yes, I know this might end with my house in flames. I know she's walking chaos. But I'm completely in love with her brand of madness. And somehow, that makes perfect sense to me. I guess what I'm saying is, I love her. She's absolutely insane, but I'm okay with that. I've made my choice. Story 5. 2 years ago, a chance meeting turned into a fight for survival. I was 22 at the time, having recently ended things with my 24-year-old boyfriend. A month after our breakup, he asked to meet and discuss some unresolved issues. We agreed to talk in a public park, which seemed safe enough. The conversation started normally, but his demeanor soon changed. The situation escalated quickly. He became aggressive during our discussion, and without warning, he grabbed my throat and began strangling me. The height difference between us was stark. He stood at 6'3" while I'm only 5'2". In that moment of terror, I remembered my pocket knife. Acting on pure survival instinct, I reached for it and defended myself. The attack ended immediately. With shaking hands, I called both police and ambulance. Thankfully, a nearby security camera had captured everything. The evidence clearly showed I acted in self-defense. He survived his injuries, and the legal system confirmed what I already knew. I had the right to protect myself. The investigation concluded with his conviction. I was fully justified in my actions that day, but the memory of fighting for my life stays with me. Story 6. It all started with a mushroom trip in October last year. Like many psychedelic experiences, it made me question everyday things we take for granted. I found myself watching my cat, noticing how he keeps himself clean with nothing but his tongue. No soap, no water, no shampoo. Yet he never smells bad. This observation sparked a question. Why do I spend money on fancy soaps and shampoos? Right then, I decided to try something radical, cleaning myself with water alone. The first couple of months were challenging. My thick curly hair rebelled against this change, becoming noticeably dry without its usual soaps and conditioners. I'd always struggled to find hair products that worked well, but now I was using none at all. I also noticed something interesting. That peculiar post-shower smell I used to have simply disappeared. By the 3rd month, things started changing. My hair began adapting to its new normal. I kept up my daily or every other day showers, just without any products. The most surprising change? My hair stopped getting greasy, a problem that had plagued me for years. Now, a year later, the results are remarkable. My hair feels healthy, maintained by its natural oils. Body odor has become almost non-existent, except during moments of anxiety. My partner describes it as a natural musk, and surprisingly, 2 close friends have actually complimented my hygiene, unaware of my experiment. I should clarify some things, though. I'm not anti-hygiene. I still wash my hands with soap after using the bathroom. I use deodorant, do regular laundry, and take monthly Epsom salt baths. I keep myself clean, just without soap in the shower. The most validating part? My brutally honest friend group, known for their merciless teasing, hasn't once commented on any bad smell. These are people who wouldn't hesitate to tell me if I stank. My partner, who occasionally takes an intentionally close sniff, has never indicated any unpleasant odor. A year into this experiment, I'm convinced our bodies are more capable of self-regulation than we give them credit for. Sometimes the simplest solution really is the best one, even if it takes a psychedelic cat-watching session to figure that out. Story 7. The truth weighs heavy on me every day. After 13 years of marriage, I've come to a painful realization. I hate my wife. I'm 46, she's 45, and between us is our 12-year-old son, the bright light in my darkened world. He means everything to me. My wife and I live like strangers under the same roof. We share no common interests, no meaningful conversations. The important discussions that couples should have about finances, our son's college fund, retirement plans, they're impossible to initiate. We've retreated to separate bedrooms, sharing intimate moments perhaps 3 or 4 times a year. I tell myself I'll leave when my son turns 18. But 6 years feels like an eternity. Every day I battle with this choice. Stay and maintain stability for my son, or leave and risk damaging him with a broken home. Some days the weight of pretending everything's fine feels unbearable. But for now, I keep my hatred silent, locked away behind a father's love for his son. Story 8. Living with my boyfriend's family seemed like a sensible choice while we save for our own home. I'm 25, he's 26, and mostly the arrangement works well. But there's one problem that's becoming increasingly disturbing. My boyfriend's 27-year-old sister, though she lives elsewhere, frequently visits without warning. This wouldn't be an issue, except she has developed an unsettling habit of walking in on me in the bathroom, particularly when I'm showering. The bathroom doesn't have a lock, but the house rule is simple. If the light's on, someone's inside. Yet somehow, she only seems to accidentally walk in on me, never anyone else. What makes this situation more concerning is her behavior afterward. Her comments about my appearance have evolved from seemingly innocent observations about my legs or general looks to more inappropriate remarks. Recently, she announced to her entire family, including my boyfriend, that I have nice tits, leaving me completely mortified. There's context that makes this even more troubling. Her dating patterns show concerning tendencies toward power imbalances. She exclusively dates much older men, usually in their 60s, and seems to prefer foreign partners who struggle with English, making them dependent on her for communication. Even in her work at a care home, there are questionable boundaries with residents who often buy her gifts and go on outings with her. I've discussed this with my boyfriend. While he's frustrated about the situation, especially the inappropriate comments, he dismisses the bathroom incidents as his sister being absent-minded and not noticing the bathroom light. Now I'm facing a new worry. Christmas is approaching, and she'll be staying over. Until now, I've managed by avoiding the bathroom during her visits, but that won't be possible during an extended stay. The thought of addressing this directly feels overwhelming. How do you tell someone their sister's behavior is making you feel unsafe in your own home? Story 9. 5 years ago, my life turned upside down. On the first day of COVID shutdown, after losing my job through a heartless text message and YouTube video, my husband dropped his own bombshell. He was gay. Timing has never been our strong suit. Life moved fast after that. I returned to work, pulling 12 to 16-hour kitchen shifts while my ex enjoyed paid leave from Starbucks, watching our 3 girls. That's where I met C, 5 years younger than me, and everything my ex-husband wasn't, a hyper-masculine mechanic who loved hunting, fishing, and cars. C became my rebound, though looking back, the signs were always there. He couldn't hold a job longer than a year, never owned a car despite being a mechanic, and treated my wallet like his personal ATM. No birthday gifts, no Christmas presents, just constant requests for money. But when my kids were with their dad, I'd still find myself with him. Classic codependency. I knew it, but couldn't seem to break free. Then came this summer's scout camp. As an assistant leader in my daughter's all-girl Cub Scout den, I found real purpose teaching these girls survival skills: whittling, fire building, shelter making. This week-long camp should have been just another adventure with my scouts. Instead, it changed everything. That's where I met Jay. He stood out among the other dads immediately. While they napped during free time, he taught the kids complex knots. We shared tastes in anime, movies, and books, but what truly caught my attention was how he spoke about his wife. He celebrated her achievements without taking credit, described their partnership with genuine joy, and showed what real love looks like. My crush on Jay isn't just about him. It's about what he represents. It's about seeing what healthy love actually looks like in practice. When I returned home, I finally ended things with C. His tears and drama couldn't move me anymore. I'd seen something real, and it made all the pretend versions impossible to accept. Now here I am at 31, raising 3 amazing girls, finally understanding what love should look like. The irony isn't lost on me. It took meeting a happily married man to realize how much I'd been settling. I don't know if I'll ever find that kind of love for myself, but at least now I know it exists. Maybe that's enough, knowing that real love is possible, even if it's not mine to have right now. Sometimes the best gift isn't getting what you want, but finally understanding what you should want in the first place. Story 10. Yesterday, my mother called with news that made my blood run cold. She saw him walking through town, my ex, just released after 6 years in prison. She said he looks different now, older, stronger, covered in tattoos, but still handsome. I find myself wondering if his good looks mean he survived prison unharmed. Then I hate myself for even caring. The official record says manslaughter, but I know the truth. What happened wasn't an accident. He'd been planning it since he was 16, obsessing over every detail for 2 years. When it finally happened, I knew exactly what he'd done. I was 18 when his case went to trial. He begged me to testify in his favor, to help support his claim of self-defense. I refused to lie for him, but his lawyer called me to the stand anyway, and the judge threatened contempt if I didn't testify. I tried so carefully to walk a line between truth and protection, answering questions without lying outright, without deliberately incriminating him. But I made one mistake about the timeline. That single error shattered his defense strategy. Instead of walking free, he got 6 years. In all that time, I never visited him once. Fear kept me away. He was the only one who knew what really happened in that courtroom, that I didn't just tell the truth, I actively destroyed his chance at freedom. The memories feel almost unreal now. I loved him desperately once. He was beautiful, brilliant, charismatic. Even now, some twisted part of me wants to see him again, to discover if any trace remains of the man I loved. But beneath that morbid curiosity lies pure terror. What are his plans now that he's free? Does he want to talk? Or something worse? Nobody else understands my fear. They all think I just told the truth on the stand. Only he knows what I really did. At 24, I thought I'd put this behind me. Now every shadow holds a threat, and every passing hour brings fresh anxiety. The past isn't finished with me yet. Story 11. My parents dropped a bombshell on me recently. We're adopting a baby, but this isn't your typical adoption story. This baby is my uncle's child, another in his growing list of illegitimate children. The situation unfolded like this. My uncle returned home last year after spending several years abroad. His stay was brief, just a few months, but long enough to leave behind another complicated situation. During his time here, he got involved with a woman who is now pregnant with his child. The mother plans to give up the baby for adoption, citing financial inability to raise the child. My parents agreed to adopt the baby, who is due to be born this week. But there's more to this tangled web. My uncle isn't single. He's in a serious relationship in another country, and here's where it gets even more twisted. He's actively trying to get his current girlfriend pregnant. His logic? He thinks a pregnancy will keep her from leaving when she discovers his other children. Yes, children. Plural. This isn't even his first illegitimate child. As a minor, I feel completely overwhelmed by this adult situation. I can't even process what I'm supposed to feel. I have no way to contact either the baby's mother or my uncle's girlfriend. I don't know the mother's name, and the girlfriend lives in another country without any social media presence I can find. This secret has been eating away at me. I know I shouldn't be the one dealing with this situation, but carrying this knowledge alone feels impossibly heavy. In just a few days, I'll have a new sibling, born from a web of deception I never asked to be part of. Story 12. My neighbor keeps appearing on my Tinder feed. This is the 4th time she's liked my profile, and each time I've had to make the same difficult choice. The decision feels logical, but my heart still aches with guilt. She's remarkable in so many ways. Smart, accomplished in her field, with a vibrant social life despite the challenges she faces. Her sense of humor lights up any conversation, and yes, she's pretty too. We've always had great chemistry as neighbors, but she's paraplegic, and that's where my practical mind kicks in. It's not about her disability itself. Being neurodivergent myself, I deeply understand how society can marginalize people for their differences. The real issue lies in what a relationship would mean for both of us. I can barely manage my own daily needs sometimes. More importantly, my life revolves around activities that wouldn't be accessible to her. I'm an outdoors person, someone who finds joy in long walks, hiking trips, and spontaneous adventures. While I enjoy quiet evenings at home, they're the exception rather than the rule for me. Even if we started something casual, that's not how I'm wired. Every relationship I enter becomes meaningful to me, and I always consider the long-term potential. It feels dishonest to start something knowing it couldn't evolve into the kind of partnership I envision. Still, making decisions based on practical considerations feels cold when matters of the heart are involved. Every time I swipe left, I question whether I'm being sensible or just cruel. Maybe that's why this weighs so heavily on me. Because choosing what's right for yourself sometimes means disappointing good people. Story 13. It's been just 1 year since I lost my father to age-related complications. 1 year of grief. 1 year that apparently meant nothing to my mother. Within months of his passing, months when I was still struggling to breathe through the pain, she had already found someone new. Not just found him, but brought him into our home, into the space where my father's presence still lingered. This man is everything my father wasn't. He's 10 years younger than my mother, financially unstable, and by any reasonable measure, a complete loser. Yet somehow he now sleeps in my parents' bedroom, eats at my father's table, exists in spaces that should still belong to my dad's memory. But it gets worse. My mother got pregnant by this man, and just last week they got married. Like my father's memory needed one final insult, one last push into obscurity. Now she expects me to be happy about having a half-sibling on the way. Happy, as if my father's memory isn't being erased piece by piece, as if his importance in our lives meant so little that he could be replaced within months. I look at my mother now, and I barely recognize her. How could she move on so quickly? How could my father's death mean so little to her that she could rebuild an entire new life before I've even learned to live with his absence? I hate her for this. I hate how easily she seemed to forget. I hate that she expects me to celebrate while I'm still mourning. Story 14. During a candid conversation about sex with my friend, curiosity and hormones led us to experiment. We agreed to try oral sex, partly to understand what giving pleasure to someone else might feel like. While I enjoyed receiving, I discovered I wasn't comfortable giving. At that time, I wasn't attracted to men, and my body made that clear. The encounter marked the beginning of a troubling pattern. Shortly after, he entered a relationship that didn't last long. When it ended, he sought me out, using our previous encounter as leverage. He emphasized how much pleasure he'd given me compared to what I'd given him, manipulating me into feeling indebted. Against my better judgment, I gave in, telling myself it would balance the scales. His next relationship followed the same pattern: brief romance, breakup, then reaching out to me. This time, when he messaged asking for sexual favors, I refused. Despite his persistence, I held firm. He eventually moved on to another girlfriend. We lost touch for about a year until he suggested meeting to catch up. I agreed to see him at a bar after work, thinking enough time had passed. But his true intentions became clear when he led me to an underground parking garage, claiming he needed to retrieve his motorcycle helmet. There, he revealed he was newly single again and attempted to pressure me into oral sex. Only the presence of passing strangers stopped his advances. Not deterred, he suggested moving to an abandoned construction site, a place where we used to have deep conversations about life. But instead of talking, he continued his pressure, even exposing himself and trying to initiate contact. When I attempted to leave, he offered money, as if that would change my mind. What started as youthful experimentation had evolved into a pattern of manipulation and coercion. Each time he faced rejection in his romantic life, he tried to use me as a backup plan, disregarding my feelings and boundaries entirely. Story 15. For 3 decades, I lived in a fog of unexplained illness. Every day was a battle against my own body, crushing fatigue that no amount of rest could cure, moments where reality felt distant and dreamlike, relentless headaches that clouded my thoughts. My digestive system rebelled against me, sleep became an elusive friend, and my vision was haunted by persistent visual snow. Life became a constant struggle. Simple tasks felt like climbing mountains. While others moved forward, I felt stuck in quicksand, fighting just to keep my head above water. I refused to accept that this was just how life had to be. I dove into research, reading hundreds of books, desperately searching for answers that doctors couldn't provide. For 25 years, the mystery of my illness remained unsolved. Then, last month, the first piece of the puzzle fell into place. I discovered I have a BH4 deficiency, a condition that wreaks havoc on the body's chemical messengers. Low serotonin, low dopamine, low nitric oxide. These imbalances explained the depression and anxiety that had shadowed me for so long. But this was just the beginning. This discovery led me to an even bigger revelation. I've been living with chronic Lyme disease my entire life. The explanation seemed almost too simple after so many years of searching, yet it fit perfectly. What I've learned is troubling. The medical community often dismisses chronic Lyme disease, failing to understand its complexity. The Lyme bacteria, a clever spirochete, can shapeshift within the body, hiding from detection while mimicking various autoimmune conditions. It's a master of disguise that's extremely difficult to cure. While I know the road ahead won't be easy, finally having a diagnosis feels like taking my first full breath in decades. After 25 years of questions, I finally have an answer. It may not be the answer I wanted, but it's better than living in the dark. Thank you for listening to these stories. Please comment below with your responses and thoughts. Thank you.